Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Let us go to the PEGA. Let us see what PEGA is all about. When I ask somebody what is PEGA, like you said yes. PEGA is an application development platform. With PEGA, you will be able to build applications where the business users work together with the IT. And instead of writing lines and lines of code here, I'll be able to use visual tools. And when I talk about those business users working with IT, which is we business architects will be closely working with the development team. There's always a close coordination between the business team and the IT team. And obviously we know it's a low code platform where you don't need to write code much. Most of it deals with the visual tools. But when I say visual tools, it doesn't mean just simple drag and drop. No, there's a lot more beyond that. We'll be looking into it. And PEGA is also considered as one of the pioneers in the BPM category because of definitely the ease of use and the accelerated application development. When I talk in the perspective of business users, let's see here, if you observe the business and the IT, they share the same kind of visual mode to get your business requirements and specifications. Instead of using any other tools like Jira, Kanban board and all of that, I can directly get my requirements in the application itself. I don't need any other Excel sheets. Any other tools like PEGA, Jira, Kanban boards aren't required. I can directly get the requirements into the PEGA application. When you have a question like why not other tools? Let us see. It's a unified platform. Correct. These are like the key differentiating factors when you talk about that. Obviously, the first one is low code, no code. I've seen without any technical background, they are able to master PEGA without any technical background. They have become CAs, CSSAs and all. Because obviously the ease of use of the platform, hardly no code or low code. I do not say that. It's completely no code, depending upon the requirements. CSS, they need to at least have the knowledge of all the coding languages, isn't it? Do it slow code. Correct? Correct. A few concepts of OOP, at least sort of OOP is required. It is still the defined variables and stuff like that, I think, isn't it? Alright. When I mean the requirements are within what the platform has provided, then I can call it a no code. But if your requirements are a bit beyond what the platform is providing, then I can still go ahead and write some code here. It becomes a no code. Neither of the cases. It is minimal code. And then the approach is a model-driven approach here. I think as in like we define some process models and we define how you want the transaction to go. We define some process models for all of it. We will see a little more about a model-driven going forward. Visual tools like yes, we have discussed already, and business users work with the IT. When it's starts building the skeleton of the application. There's definitely a close coordination between the business team and the IT team. In fact, we are the ones who build the high-level skeleton of the application to get it, accepted by the client or the product. After that, the devs come and they take over to look after the complex stuff. Like all your security, handling the security of your application, probably teamed collaborations. Then versioning of the applications and some other complex requirements are handled by the devs. Documentation is automatically implemented. Generally, we see in projects like they do not parallelly work with documentation. Once you are almost in the last phases, they start working on documentation. But now I think it's more of they work parallelly, isn't it, in all other also products? Probably, if that is the scenario, that's really good. But oh, is it not? Because I have not been in development for long, but now recently. But Scrum is one of those, isn't it? They work parallelly, isn't it? Business. But the documentation, I think in all. You mean the documentation is done at the beginning and then they don't concentrate on documentation. And then they don't document any of that stuff. Like what issues have come or like what or how did they resolve. They hardly put anything on a document. Oh, and then towards the end, once the application is all, development is all done, when they're transferring it to the maintenance team, that's when they, start putting something on the document and then, yes, they hand it over. But I think now Scrum, because we have weekly sprint, everyday business, and I think there's one weekly something called a ceremony. And then the business users also come and check what is done this week. I think they transfer to production, as in when it's done, the code in the Agile platform. They don't wait till the end, as in when it's done now. Every week we have the next week. Weekly we transfer some code. Whatever is fixed, we transfer it to the system, to the production, and then the business users test that week. Yes, when it's about the development. Yes, we have like weekly releases, like sprint releases, we have 1 month release, but when it comes to documenting this stuff as like what the developers do, beginning to, you mean they don't change it. That we could have it automatically generated on the system. But here it's very interactive, isn't it? Every phase you can do the change. Correct. And then PEGA supports responsiveness. As in like, if suppose I have built an application for the web device or for a web view in Java. Now, if I want the same application to be accessed in a mobile, well, I definitely need to do some additional HTML, CSS process configurations, right? It's not like it to just run like how it worked on the web browser. Correct? Because in the app, because all of the resolutions, we need to make some appropriate changes. But with PEGA, we don't need to do that. Once you build your application, it can be accessed in different devices. Irrespective of screen size and resolution, the application will adjust itself accordingly. I don't need to do a lot of additional configurations here. That's one great advantage when it comes to PEGA platform. That's really great. I didn't remember reading that one. That's really helpful, isn't it? Right. And about the capabilities of the PEGA platform, at least on the business user's perspective. The first one is DCO. Here, like we discussed already, I don't need an Excel sheet or I don't need a Jira tool to get the requirements. I can have them directly on the platform. Along with the application, you can also have the objectives requirements, specifications, all captured there itself. That is like one good advantage. But I still see this feature is not, that extensive to be used. People are still going for other tools and other approaches. Though they're using PEGA. Why do you think they do that way? Because when you have everything in the system, they are used to it. Correct. That's the legacy they do not want to use to the sort of practices. I think it feels just, I would be happy if there's no Excel sheet. I don't like Excel sheet. Others are, but Excel sheet is something which is very complicated. It's better. You use it in the system, isn't it? Right. Correct. Then we have something called as guardrails. For any language, any platform, we have certain set of best practices. Right? Give certain set of best practices which have to be followed. And depending upon the code and depending upon these best practices that you follow, we get a score. Right? We call it guardrail score. The score is from 0 to 100. The higher, the better. Looking at this guardrail score, I can tell like what? What is the health of your application? Will the system show the score? If you want to build a good PEGA application, you should make sure it is more than 96 or at least 95. When you're building, it will show at each phase, or is it at the end? It will show. For each change that you do, for each rule or for each, you can go and test. You can check that like a checker. That's great. That if there are any deviations from the best practices, I can go check what that deviation is. And sometimes it is inevitable that we have to, let some minor exception. Exactly. If you really think that maybe this best practice cannot be followed in this context, then you need to clearly justify it as in like why this is not being followed. Probably some sort of client requirements could be there, some technical aspects, whatever, but we need to clearly justify. You capture it in the documentation in the system. And then extensible applications. PEGA provides us the options to, build some frameworks that I can extend those applications. And also PEGA provides certain frameworks by default for each domain. There are like customer service applications or customer service frameworks for, insurance domain or e-commerce domain. There are like different frameworks provided, and we can also create our own framework. That is also possible. That comes inbuilt when you buy an enterprise version or you need to buy it on top of it. These frameworks are like additional, they required, like whatever your organization needs, you go and top up on that one on a base. What kind of application I'm going to build? I'll purchase that framework. And when it comes to deployments, I can deploy my PEGA application on premise or in the cloud. There's a PENA cloud available, or if not, other cloud environments also, we can most have applications. Will you touch base on this? Will you show me? Not exactly on the cloud, but we will look after deployments. We'll see how. In the sense, you will at least let me know how to do it, isn't it? We'll. Thank you. Right. And probably yes. The last topic for the next 5 minutes is about the different application development studios. PEGA comes up with different studios for different people to access it depending on the roles. We have 4 studios available at Dev, Admin and Production. Each is targeted for different set of people. Studio for business analysts or business architects for faster application development, whereas Dev Studio for experienced developers for all the complex requirements, security, versioning, all of that is part of the Dev Studio. And Studio for system administrator to look after the background processing, batch jobs and sort of stuff. And then if you want to bring in some AI/ML features into your application, you can have this Prediction Studio. Your scientists and data analysts will be working on the prediction. This is like role-based, you get access or you will have access to everything at the development phase. Not a creative. Suppose assume I am a BA. I don't need a prediction studio. Right. Because I work on defining these adaptive predictive models. I don't work on it. My job is on the App Studio. This is something the organization will manage, giving you access to that. Correct. It depends upon the project and role that you are performing. If you get access to the system, still you can set up roles accordingly and you can give access. That's what exactly. I'm going to talk about App Studio. This is all we could do. We will be able to design some cases. We'll be able to bring in different channels and a bit of UI. We can decide how the UI needs to look like. And when we'll be able to quickly develop the skeleton, we can as well get it reviewed from the clients. And then if we changes, we can directly make those changes and then get it reviewed. It's more like an development. Then Dev Studio for all the complex requirements. This is where the analyst work, isn't it? The system architects. Your CSA, CSS, they will be focusing on the Dev Studio for versioning, security aspects and all. And then your Admin Studio for all the background processing, the batch jobs that run in the back end. Then your APIs deployments, all of that part of the Admin Studio. And then you have your Prediction Studio for defining models, adaptive models, predictive models. You can build in different models and you can look at is there accordingly certifications according to this area. Right. We have a certification for data scientists. For people who are in a PEGA. PEGA certified data scientist. And I was again reading about decisioning. One more. What is that? Do you have any idea? PEGA certified decisioning consultant. It is. We deal building strategies. It's more like how you deal with the customers, sort of marketing. If we complete this, do take that course. Is that something which is a good thing to do after once you complete PA? Because that's what I see in the market mostly asked. Right. But with the B, of course, what happens is you get to know what to say, the breadth of the platform. You will get to know that, like you know all the features, like how is it interacting with the external environment. You get to know the breadth. Whereas once you look at the C, S, of course, you will know the depth out of it, like how technical aspects could be and how you can know applications. It's more like the depth. You dig deeper into these things. Is that after that the decisioning course comes. Right. At least a beginner CS1 would be helpful. Helpful to know this to make strategies in that. Because that needs background. I suggest a CSA should be good for it. At least. And you look at the different roles on a PEGA project. Just like any other project, here also we need a mix of people. People with different expertises. Get. I have business architect, the first role, because they are the ones who get to understand the business needs, talk to the product owners, get the requirements. And we are the ones who develop the skeleton of the application. Then come system architects, CSAs, CS, SLSAs, to look after all the complex requirements, and they work on the dev studio. Then we obviously need a project manager to look after the overall project timelines, delivery, and sort of stuff. Maybe a practice leader to look after the best practices of the delivery. And product owner, because he is the one who sends out the requirements, and the one who is a product owner will usually be a business architect, isn't it? Not exactly. Sometimes the client. You are dealing with the actual product owner. When we put all of them together along with the B, A, we can call them business users. You would also be a business user. The product owner will also be a business user. Then we need a QA to look after the performance, the testing and all sort of stuff. Then a Scrum Master. Most of the development strategies are now into Agile and they are following Scrum methodologies. We need a Scrum Master to make sure all the Scrum events are organized as needed. You sometimes need a specialty architect also, depending upon your project requirement. If it's a very big project, people who have an expertise on the domain or on the technology are always required when you are building an application from scratch. They always help with their inputs and suggestions. Then finally, we have system admin and IT. All the activities. These are for ongoing. They should be always there involved because for the ongoing activities, isn't it? To provide different environments for us dev, QA, pre, prod is needed, prod is needed. They are the ones who sort of organize these and secure the environments, have the virtual environments and sort of stuff. Right. Thank you. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.